This is the third small group discussion with J. Krishnamurti at Brockwood Park, 1970.
What shall we talk about?
Could we talk about apathy and indifference?
What?
Apathy and indifference.
Could we talk about indifference? We were talking about the other day, when some of you were here, about violence, and whether human beings can live completely without any kind of violence. Because it seems to be a really major crisis in the world, that human beings are becoming more and more violent. And we were asking ourselves whether it is at all possible to end this violence. Because one sees that there must be a change in society, in the structure, and in the whole social injustice and so on, wars. There must be a change. And whether that change is to be brought about through violence, which only gets more violence and repression, and or whether there is a way for human beings to live totally without any kind of violence in all their relationship. Do we go on with that? Huh? I don't know if some of you were here. I think probably might want to discuss something else entirely.
We can't see the violence in ourselves, although we seem to be able to see it quite clearly outside.
General says that one can't see this violence in oneself, but one can observe it in others and in the world. Don't we know when we are angry? Don't we know when there's great sense of division in ourselves and between ourselves and others? And there is a form of aggression. Surely that doesn't take very great deal of awareness to see that one is violent. I think really the problem is not only to be aware of this violence in oneself, but also to find out if it can really end in oneself as not an individual, but in a human being. I think there is a great deal of difference between an individual and a human being. So if you want to discuss that, shall we go on with what we're discussing? Please do. Or would you like to discuss something else? It's pretty warm afternoon, so.
I would like to discuss the difference between the conscious mind and the so-called unconscious mind.
Could we include that question, the difference between the conscious and the unconscious, when we are discussing this question of violence? Can we approach this problem differently, which is Why is the mind divided in itself as the conscious and the unconscious, as war and peace, as aggression and non-aggression, and so on? Why is there this difference? Black and white, the racial differences, the individual opposed to the community, the various differences of religious beliefs and so on. You know, this everlasting division in oneself and in the world. Can we approach this problem that way? Oh God, please. This is not a talk by me. This is supposed to be a discussion, exchange, a dialogue, where we are going to share together.
Oh, then I'd like to say something else.
Any question? Not something else, madam.
On the same line, how do I know where the unconscious mind starts?
We'll find that out. Wait a minute. This is not a talk by the speaker. This is a discussion, a dialogue, and we must please do share in it. Let's talk it over informally, in a friendly kind of way, so that we all share in it, not just accept few ideas or reject ideas or keep to your own particular ideals or beliefs and so on. So please, let us share together, which means really communicate with each other. So I think we might begin this question. Why is the mind dividing everything? Why is there this division, this contradiction?
The fundamental division of the individual against nature, the ego surviving against the whole environment, which must be at the root, and it seems to me to be at the root of almost everything, every thought one has.
Yes, sir, but why is there this division? The ego, the me, and the community. The me and the you. The me and God. Why is there this tremendous activity of division all the time in our lives? Me and my wife, me and my family, me and my house, me and, you follow? Country, gods, beliefs, this division.
It would seem to me that the ego could not exist if it did not attempt to maintain the division.
Yes, sir, but shouldn't we find out why this contradiction? Is it for survival? Is it that the ego is separate and divides itself against the community so as not to be smothered by the community?
Is it because man has the ability to think, he can think in the abstract and he can classify, and therefore in that classification he separates himself?
Isn't it fair?
Now, sir, look at the problem in yourself. Why is there in you this division?
That planted by upbringing and education in nearly everybody.
Is it the fault of education? The fault of the society in which we live? Isn't there?
Is it something to do with the mechanism with which we look at things? we look at things in various ways. If there is some mechanism which divides.
So the mechanism is the observer and the observed. This division again, why? If you blame the society is what we have made it. So I wish we could go into this little bit.
If we go into this corridor of opposites in ourselves, all of us together, shouldn't the effect of it be that we all change in one flash?
Oh, no. So have you noticed in yourself this contradiction? The me and the not me. The opposing desires. What should be and what is. The conscious and the unconscious. This division, this cleavage, this separation. Haven't you noticed in yourself? Now, why? Why does it exist?
We've never known anything else.
Yes, all right, agreed. But why? Why does it exist? You're not answering the question.
I don't think you can answer that question. You could say that it is a natural order of existence, but it may not necessarily be that there's not some other order of existence.
I think we can find out, sir. Let's find out. Let's ask the most impossible question to find out.
Doesn't it come into being when a thought arises? The moment I notice where I start to think, I'm separating from what I am, and I seem to be in a world of memory.
You see, sir, this is a tremendously complex question. Because there is the whole question of time, the yesterday, today, and tomorrow, the division between you and that, and the space between you and that. The past memories, the remembrances, and the present, which is not related to the past. So there is this extraordinary division going on.
Well, the fundamental division of the ideational world from the objective world.
Yes.
There is one of the most fundamental divisions.
So what is the cause of all this? What is the basis for all this division? Why does this division exist? Why can't we live harmoniously, totally, without this constant contradiction?
The division is the cause of not being able to live harmoniously, but that doesn't answer the question of why it's there.
Why? That's what I'm asking. Why is it there?
Well, it's a fundamental fact of nature. It's there.
The thing is, why does it continue, sir? It continues because we want to alter it, it seems, change it, and
no, I don't want to change it. So I just want to see why it exists before I begin to change or do something about it.
I don't think there's any such cleavage in a very small child, for which the ego is everything, and everything is related to it. And in the process of upbringing, it is more and more opposed to certain things, which then get a substance of their own, and are generally becoming opposed. People, things, everything.
So is it a matter of education?
Not exactly education, I would think. It is the normal process of upbringing such as it exists.
So you're saying, sir, it's the normal process to live a life of disharmony. a novel process of conflict, battle, between the conscious, unconscious, between me and you, between my ideas, and so on, so on.
I would think that this harmony may be the origin of it, but wrong education and a wrong attitude to life does nothing to make it disappear again. That means that once the stage has been developed, and there is that cleavage, present education and present society tends by competition in schools, universities, professions.
Yes, those are all the methods.
To emphasize it more and more.
Yes, then you are saying by changing the structure of education, the structure of society, we can break down this disharmony.
I would think so, yes.
But it seems to me that in education, particularly today where there's many progressive schools, that many people say this, but a child is fairly awake and he looks at the person who says, I want to break down this disharmony, and he sees disharmony. We speak about it and yet we don't do it in ourselves.
Is it related to our collection of experiences and knowledge?
I would like to hear some more about the validity of these contradictions. I think many of them are so artificially upheld and nurtured that we should do more good to actually talk about their basis amongst ourselves.
That's what we're trying to do, that, trying basically to find out fundamentally why this division exists in us.
Isn't it simply fear and ultimately terror and ultimately not going out of a door?
But we are separate. There is you, and there's this person, and there's another person. They are separate.
Not necessarily.
Have we got caught up in the words we've created?
Surely there is differences between blue and black, between a brown skin and a white skin and a black skin and a yellow skin or purple skin. There's a big house, small house, and so on. There is surely division. But psychologically, inwardly, why is there this division?
When I look at myself, it seems as if there actually is no separation. Intellectually there's a separation, but in terms of my action and what I do in life, it is a unity instead of a separation. I may have an ideal and I say that I should not do this, but I may still do it. And intellectually I will say I'm divided against myself. I have gone against my ideal.
If I do, I mean, there's a contradiction there. I do something which I don't want to do.
Yes, but it's intellectual
contradiction. No, is it contradiction? Is it intellectual when I want to hold somebody's hand and I hit somebody? No, surely it is not it's an intellectual concept.
I think it's very unlikely we can talk about these contradictions satisfactorily in a language and vocabulary which is distinguished by its oppositions and by its own contradictions in any way other than on the level of contradictions. We're just going around in a big circle.
Is it the linguistic structure that makes for this division?
You yourselves raised an interesting division, which I'd like to hear more about. It might throw more light on it. You made a division between the individual and a human being.
Yes, I know. We'll go into that, sir. But I wish we could go into this.
It isn't the linguistic.
What, sir?
It isn't the linguistic structure exactly, but all the emotional charges that become fixed with certain words.
Sir, look, can we put the question this way? As a human being, we want to live harmoniously, completely, without contradiction, without this contradictory desires and opposed desires in total harmony. Is it possible? I'm putting the question the other way around. Is it possible? And what are the things that are preventing it?
I think it is that everybody has got a different conception of harmony.
And then harmony, which means no conflict.
It must depend entirely who asks this question. Because if one type of mind asks the question, he's doing it because he wants a quiet life, egotistic.
No, I mean...
If another type of mind wants it, it's because of something else.
No, sir. Observing what is taking place in the world, observing what is happening in oneself, seeing that man has lived for, I don't know, millions of years in contradiction, in battle, in conflict within himself and outwardly with his environment, seeing all that, one asks naturally this question. Not the answer depending on some particular individual with his particular temperament and characteristic, but as a question that must be answered by as a human being, not according to one's particular opinion.
Are we born like that, or have we been told we are separate? Or are we born naturally like that?
Isn't it much easier, I mean, lazier, whatever word you want to use, for the mind, it means that the mind isn't functioning. When you say that I'm separate, it's much easier for you. It's sort of, you don't have to watch and keep awake to something. You don't have to, it's sort of a laziness.
But sir, don't you ask of yourself this question? To live.
We don't know.
Of course we don't know, but we're going to find out. And where do we find it out? In ourselves, surely. Because we're part of society and all the rest of it. So, I'm asking if you and I and others who are here can live in harmony. Why is there this disharmony, this contradiction?
I see it as the movement of thought in comparison and image making, which, so long as it continues, there is conflict and disharmony. Now, that's what I am. The thing is, having seen this, where does the urgency come along? How can I see it so clearly that there's a burning urgency in me to put this aside?
So we inherit from all the foregoing experience of man the need to struggle to survive, and therefore to affirm one's individuality.
Is this disharmony, does this disharmony exist because of the inevitability of death?
The principle of survival.
Which means survival.
Yes. Survival against death. It goes from the
survive?
From the root of nature upwards.
But if it was survival against death, many of the things we do, we go out and kill ourselves for this conflict, for this split, and then it's no survival for death. What does that mean? Does that have any meaning?
Because we're afraid of death, so we cling to life and say we must survive at any price.
This is an instinct implanted in us in nature.
Right. And the desire to survive and that very desire is creating other desires which produce non-survival.
Produces what's been called a parasitic farm.
Yes. And contradiction, all the rest of it.
Everything living on everything else.
Yes.
I think it's very glib to say we have an instinct for survival which makes us afraid of death. And I'm not saying we're not afraid of death, but I'd like to explore more fully why.
So we are trying to find out if human beings, you and I, can live in complete harmony within ourselves.
Aren't we afraid of the death of every idea that we have?
Yes, but you see, please, let's stop answering each other. We can give a dozen explanations. We can go on endlessly explaining. Now, I want to, if you and I want to live with harmony, how do we, what is the root of this disharmony? I want to find out. I'm really tremendously interested in it, because I see the other way is sheer destruction. Now, how do I find out?
Because you threaten my existence.
No, sir, it doesn't, no, you're not answering. I want to, please do listen to this. I want to find out. How do I find out?
Look at it.
Now, how do I look at it? I know one's life is in disharmony. That's an actual fact. Now, how do I look at that fact, at what is, with eyes that will not bring about activity or action that will increase further disharmony?
I would have to look at it in a fashion that was not judging it.
Do look at it, sir. Look at it. Don't explain it. Do I look at it with eyes that produce instant action of harmony, or do I look with eyes that are analytical and therefore postpone action? Have I conveyed what I want? No, I'm not sure I have. If I see danger, I act instantly. And in that there is no postponement of analysis or explanation. There's instant action. Am I looking with eyes at this question with analytical eyes, with eyes that are crippled with words, and so on? How am I looking at this problem?
I think what you're asking us to feel, or to say, to
Yes,
explain
feel,
in some way the
feel,
particular conception
see,
of reality.
Yeah, see, feel, how you look at this question, sir.
But you can only look for something if you know something, perhaps, of what it is, I suggest. And so therefore you need some sort of conception of reality amongst us, which would be extremely hard for us to articulate. And perhaps we would lose the sense of that in our explanations.
How do we approach this subject? Go on, sir, please.
You know, this entity that looks, you use the word looks or see, but in fact, if you are looking with ideas, there is no entity apart from the idea.
Yes, sir.
The ego, so-called, is really non-existent at that time as a separate thing. It's given over and absolutely up to thinking and can no longer see itself as separate. And looking that way, it is the ideas that are looking. There's no question about this. But if it looks at the ideas, which are after all only subjective pictures and sounds, then he no longer sees them. And the answer to the question is a void.
So you're asking me, or yourself, how to look?
No, I was saying that the so-called observer, the entity that looks, is rather a fickle and subtle thing to find.
Yes.
If this entity is the subjective pole of ideation, he's not there. It's the ideas only that are there.
Can I just question part of your assertion that if you do in fact look at something with an ideation content, you are no other than that idea? I think it's a very common experience to have some sort of reflection during the process of looking at something with an idea in your head, and to have some sort of, admittedly, often a very elementary interplay between, say, 2 ideas or 3 ideas. I know that doesn't in fact sort of knock out your first part of the assertion entirely. But
it seems to me that if you look at an idea, this is a quaint way of putting it, but if you have an idea, you do not see any actuality. And if you do see an actuality, you're not having the idea. So if you're thinking about something and seeing it, there's a rapid alternation.
That's right, sir. So, am I looking at this question whether I am living, whether it is possible to live harmoniously without contradiction as an idea, or am I looking at it without the idea, but the fact that I live in disharmony? I don't know what harmony is, but I do know what disharmony is, what is contradiction, what is this division. And am I looking at that division with an ideation of what is division? Or am I free to observe without ideation? I don't know if I'm conveying.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Which is it that one is doing? Ideation being analysis, explanation, and the structure of words.
Surely you can't ever stop analysis, because your eyes, the whole existence is based on analysis, on recognition.
Is it everything based on analysis? Here I am. Just take this side. I've discovered that I live in disharmony. And I also have seen when there is danger, I act instantly, without analysis. And in observing disharmony, there must be an action which must be as instantaneous as in facing danger, right? And I see that instant action is not possible if there is any form of analysis, right?
Yeah, any form of ideation.
Or ideation. Now, can I look at this disharmony without analysis? Without the whole process of analysis, in which there is the analyzer and the analysed, the division. I don't know if I'm... Now, am I looking at it without analysis? Which means, look at what's involved in it. Analysis is a postponement factor. And the mind is so accustomed to analysis, and it uses as an escape from action. And it begins to discuss, one is born with the analytical process, one gives 1,000 explanations, but the action which comes when there is danger doesn't take place here. Now, can the mind see the truth of this? Not the verbal truth, but the actual truth of the fact that analysis prevents instant action. If that is seen, we can proceed a little further. I don't know, right? Do we see it?
What do you mean by instant action?
So when you see something dangerous, you act, don't you?
But that can be due to instant analysis.
Wait, I'm going to go into it a little bit. I see a snake, and there is instant action, isn't there? That instant action is the accumulated knowledge of the danger of snake, which is the conditioning of the mind to snake. Right? And therefore that conditioning responds instantly. Right? Now, that kind of instant response to danger is entirely different from the response of a mind which sees the truth that analysis is postponement of action. The two are entirely different.
It's not only postponement, it's a negation.
Negation of action, right? Negation of action. Like, let's put it that way.
Analysis is the negation of action.
Yes. Yes, sir. Analysis is negation of action. You understand what it means?
Well, I understand.
Do, sir, listen to it. Take 2 seconds. See what is involved in it.
Analysis is a negation of a free mind.
Negation of a free mind.
Rather than action.
Yeah. And free mind must act.
He's already acting.
Yeah.
But sir, there's also a place for analysis.
Huh?
There's also a place for analysis.
And I understand that, of course, sir, there's a place. Now I'm taking, please go put your mind to this. We said analysis is a negation of action or negation of freedom. And freedom means action.
Why? Why should you have to respond to things?
Why should I respond to things?
Yes. There are not snakes around us. Why should we ever have to respond?
No, wait. If you don't respond to danger, you're finished, you're died.
There's not always danger there, especially now.
Weapon?
There's not always danger around our immediate environment. And then?
There is danger. Violence is danger to survival. National division is danger, is a tremendous danger for survival. Prejudice is a danger. And so on, so on. So please, let us see the difference between a mind that realizes the truth that analysis is the negation of action, and a mind that has been conditioned to respond instantly to danger.
You have to find out what danger is. It may well be within you.
No, the danger, physical danger. I'm taking physical danger. Physical danger, then there is physical danger, there is instant response, which is the response of our conditioning. Man has conditioned himself from the beginning of time, probably, to snake, saying, look out, there's a tremendous danger.
You spoke of prejudice a minute ago.
That action is entirely different from the action of a mind which has perceived the futility of all negation, of all analysis. I put it in different ways. Can the mind observe this fact of disharmony in one's life without analysis, and therefore immediately bring about harmony, which is action? I don't know, right? I've got my question clear now.
If we could say it with the same intensity that a motorist sees danger and puts his foot on the brake.
Yes.
That's better than the snake.
That's all right, sir. I mean, right. You're all.
Well, this is a different mode of action altogether.
Quite right.
See the headlong, passive flight of our ideas as something of the utmost danger is a different type of action, unfortunate word, a different type of seeing than merely seeing the danger of a snake.
Now it's clear, sir. The question is very clear now. What do you see disharmony with all its contradictions and so on with eyes that are free from analysis, ideation, division? Otherwise, we will live in disharmony all the time. And a mind that wants to live in harmony has to act. And this action is not possible when there is a great deal of ideation of any kind, when there are formulas, or when the mind is caught in analysis. Please. Now I'm asking, is my mind caught in analysis when I observe this disharmony in myself?
observe.
What's that?
I think perhaps it depends quite on the weight of meaning you attach to the word observe. You can feel disharmony perhaps as well.
Yes, sir, that observation means feel. Don't battle over words.
What kind of action have you got in mind?
No, sir, look, I have no action in my mind. I know not what kind of action I have in my mind. What kind of action takes place when you are not observing with analytical eyes, observing the disharmony that a human being lives in. You're not my attitude towards action. Then we'll begin to differ. It's your idea and it's my idea.
But when I'm in front of a snake, I know what to do, namely run. But when I'm in front of a new idea or a new approach, I don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do?
No.
Why?
I wouldn't know which
No,
way
no,
to turn.
no, why? Why don't you know what to do? Because you're not looking at it, are you?
I don't know how to.
No, he's telling you how to look. He's saying, can you look at your disharmony, at your contradiction, without all the ideations that you bring when you look at it? Your condemnation, your judgment, your formulas, your right and wrong, your analytical process, let's call all that the analytical process. Can you look at that disharmony in which one lives with eyes that are completely empty of analysis? If you say I cannot, then find out why you cannot. Can somebody tell you what to do and do it for you?
Perhaps yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Oh.
I think one could. Because my mother told me fire is hot, so I don't touch it.
So you depend on somebody else to tell you what to do. Of course. I mean,
She told me don't touch it, it's hot.
You probably didn't find out because you touched it in defiance of your
No, I
mind.
didn't.
I think the point is that one doesn't, as a child, one discovers things for oneself.
so look, we have come to the point, sir, that one finds one can't do it. That you can't look with eyes that are non-verbal, non-ideational, non-analytical. Now I say, why?
Because I wish to escape.
Wait, sir, go slowly. Why can't you do it? Is it because you don't see the danger of analytical observation? Danger in the sense it prevents you from changing. When life demands that you change. Come on, please. Huh?
When I see clearly that analysis is a barrier to understanding, I stop analyzing.
No.
But there is another barrier to me, and that is the purpose, the object. Sometimes it is no longer just the understanding, but the purpose of achievement of, for instance, when you speak about violence, one tries to achieve non-violence and all these things. Therefore, the barrier is not just the analysis, it is also the purpose of the trying to understand.
So if you have a purpose, there is already a contradiction.
Exactly.
So can you look at disharmony without a purpose? Same thing, without a motive. Now if you can't, why? Let's proceed, sir. Why can't I see that that analytical mind prevents action? Why can't I see the truth of it? Is it that I'm not listening?
Because in order to find that out, you have defined, distinguished, and opposed. You have already analyzed that decision.
Sir, look, we are doing it now. Do it, sir. Don't do it.
I can't look because there are thoughts swimming through my head.
Now, all right, wait. Your thoughts go through your head,
Yes.
because that prevents you from looking.
Yes.
Now, find out why it happens. When you know that you have to change, and thought, this movement of prevents you from changing, then find out why. It's an analytical process, but go into it. Why?
It comes on by itself, like on a screen. It just goes on.
Surely it doesn't when you're interested in something, does it? When you are completely attentive, thought doesn't come in and interfere. You observe. You're passionate in your observation. Which means you are really not interested in radical change. And therefore the thought plays with the mind. It prevents it. Then the question is, why aren't you? Why aren't you interested? When the house is burning, you understand? The house is burning.
Then I know what to do.
No, please, madam, you don't know what to do when an actual house is burning, but the psychological world is burning. And that fire is going to destroy us physically. So you have got to change. And why aren't you interested in this change? In this psychological revolution?
But I am interested. I look right and left and center, and I'm looking all the time, and it doesn't help.
It's not necessarily a case, perhaps, of not being interested so much as having a division in yourself which prevents you from being
All right, sir, then find out why this division exists. You see, you go, we all go from one explanation to another. And the explanation has no value when you are concerned with a thing that is not the result of it, that is not the words.
Why bother? Perhaps it is different for everyone.
Why bother? Why bother not to live in violence? Why bother? Then one accepts things as they are.
I was thinking of bothering with the process of finding out the individual obstacles to...
Not only, sir, individual, that is to me, sir, the individual, we've been through all this. The individual is the community. There is no such thing as the individual. What does the individual mean? The word individual means an entity which is not divisible, in whom there is no contradiction. Such a person is really an individual.
Wouldn't mindless, instinctive, intuitive action provoke even more violence
What's
than
up?
analytical?
What's up?
I said, would mindless, and spontaneous intuitive action not provoke more violence, possibly, than analytical thought?
So that's just a supposition, sir. Look,
shall we say somebody attacks me?
No, sir, you're asking questions that will be answered when I know how to live in harmony. And I want to find out how to live in harmony. That's my passionate interest, because that's the only way one can survive in this world, or the world can survive.
Why do you want to survive?
No. Then let's go and commit suicide, which we are doing in a rather long and roundabout way.
So, I think perhaps I find some clue in my own physical life. One form of violence I find is muscular tension. And I have observed that if one focuses attention upon a muscular tension, tension disappears.
Yes. All right. So now
Is a clue, perhaps.
Now, why doesn't, when you are concerned with this disharmony, why doesn't the mind give complete attention to it? Attention being non-division, right, sir? Non-separation. It means giving one's whole mind and heart to observe, to listen. Why don't we do this? Frightened? Frightened about what?
About what we should see.
What will happen?
No, what we should see.
What? I can't.
What we should see.
What we should see. You'll find out. Why should we be frightened about it?
I know, but we are in fact.
No. Which means you are not attentive. You are letting fear come in. As the gentleman pointed out, when there is a physical tension and you give complete attention to that tension disappears. It must have happened to you, probably, yes. Now, why can't we give the same attention and much more to this question? When you give attention completely, then there's no question of fear. Let's go into it. Why does the mind refuse to give its complete attention to something that's so vitally important?
It's a very difficult thing to do.
There seems to be a difficulty in finding a focusing point on which to pinball.
I think before you've actually experienced that full process of attentiveness, there's necessarily a fear that in the dissolution of the ideas which remain in your personality, your whole personality may, in fact, obliterate.
All right, well, you see, you're just supposing this might happen.
I'm saying it's true for me.
Sir, did you listen to what that gentleman said? He said, if you give attention, if there is attention to physical strain, that strain disappears, tension disappears. Now I'm asking why the mind does not give its complete attention to something much more vital. What is preventing it?
Possibly each one of us are wondering if our neighbour is observing or they are.
Oh, sir, I have no time for the neighbour. I want to find out.
Too many people at once.
I have noticed I like the physical tension.
Beg pardon?
I have noticed I like that.
But then keep them. Enjoy them. All right, there's no problem.
But sir, if I'm lost in the wood, I also want to get out, and I don't know which way to take. I'm very much in the same situation. I also want to find, but I don't know how.
We're pointing out, madam. Have you noticed, if you give attention to something, you begin to understand it completely? Attention being no division. Giving complete attention with your heart, with your mind, to attend.
Could you pause for a few minutes?
2 minutes, sir. Right. Shall we pursue this question of attention?
May I say something? It seems to me when I've been watching that I very rarely give attention. My attention is taken. So that it's very difficult for me now to give all my attention to this very problem, when it can't be used in the usual way, in small things of life.
Is being absorbed in something attention? A child is absorbed by a toy, is completely absorbed by it. Surely that's different from being completely attentive.
So in the case of physical pain, attention on physical pain, you can't have that attention if you're looking for an aspirin or some other
Yes,
cure.
yes.
And the same surely.
No, we are now inquiring what does it mean to attend.
You stop looking elsewhere, surely.
Do it. Let's go into it, sir. Look at it. Is your mind being absorbed by something? Something may be very interesting, a toy, a marvelous mountain, a beautiful picture, symphony or whatever, and person, individual, and all the rest of it. And that being absorbed in something is entirely different from being attentive. Is that right?
Yes, I think actually it is a distraction from complete attention.
Yeah. Now we're going to see the difference. So we are not being absorbed or being absorbed by disharmony. But we are being attentive to observe disharmony. The two things are different. Now, what does this attention mean?
I think it involves a certain amount of detachment.
Does it involve detachment? Little or much? And what do we mean by detachment? Which means we are attached.
The ego must not be involved.
You see, sir, the must not implies that one is living in a theory. Actually, I want to find out, with my blood, I want to find out what it means to attend. I won't indulge in any theory, what it should be, what is in. I want to find out how to attend. So in looking at that question, I have discarded any form of being absorbed by something. So I see that's out. I cannot attend if there is any form of movement away from the thing which is being attended to. Right?
noticed there is something necessary to this type of attention, and that is intention.
That is intention. No, I'm not sure it involves intention. I just want to attend. Huh? So, shall we find out what it means through negation of what it is not? Huh? Through denying or negating what is not attention, we'll find out for ourselves what it is. Right? Can we do that? What do you say, gentlemen? Please.
By saying it is not a feeling of I or ego.
What's that?
Attention is not a feeling of I.
Oh, no, right. So, it's not the... what does it mean? Because you see, sir, we are saying or we are inquiring into this to find out how to live in complete harmony, which is to be totally attentive to disharmony. And that is not possible to be so completely attentive to disharmony if there is any form of ideation as analysis and so on. So my mind has completely discarded analysis. I put it aside completely. And I've also put it aside completely, the mind has put it completely aside, any form of being absorbed in something. That's a trick. Like a child, give it a good toy and for an hour is quiet. So those two are put aside. Is concentration attention? Huh? What? Why do you say no?
Because it means that there's someone concentrating.
No, go into yourself. Don't inquire, find out, push it, find out more into it. We asked, is concentration attention? So, find out if you're concentrating. And yet you need concentration to do act. You follow? Concentration implies, doesn't it, a resistance, an exclusion. And it implies an effort. A decision, a purpose towards achievement, whatever, a purpose, a motive. So in attention, is there purpose, motive, division? Which means any form of effort to attend. Now, when you have set aside analysis, absorption, effort involved in concentration, is your mind now attentive?
Feels it tends to drift.
No, watch it, sir. Is it attentive? You said drift. Then why is it drifting? Because you are not concerned entirely with the problem involved. Why? You come back to the same point. If you are not interested, in finding out the truth of this matter, of living harmoniously, and therefore understanding this harmony out of, in that understanding harmony comes, and therefore action, complete action. If you're not interested in that, it's all right, don't be interested in it. But if you want to find out, you have to be passionate about it. You have to give your energy to it. Then why is the mind drifting? How can it drift? What do you mean by it? Then if it is drifting, how will you stop it? And then who is the entity that will stop this drift? Another thought, which again is another division. Therefore, it's not attentive. Therefore, when you see the truth of that, mind will not drift, thought won't come into it at all. Oh, God. So truth is something to be seen from moment to moment as you live. So we have found several things. Attention is not absorption. Attention is not division brought about through concentration. Attention is not analysis. And a mind that's completely attentive, thought doesn't enter with all its divisions. Now, is your mind like that? No, don't verbalize it yet, sir. You see, you're so too quick. Is your mind like that, so completely attentive? Now, when it is so attentive, and it is attentive with regard to disharmony, and therefore free of ideation, free of analysis, free for all those things, and at that moment of great attention with regard to disharmony, disharmony disappears. Therefore, there is action of harmony, right? Are you doing it?
What kind of fuel do I use if I don't use my thoughts?
What kind of fuel do you use if you don't use your thought? Now, Madame, we said, is thought productive of attention? Is attention a matter of time? Thought is a matter of time. Thought is the product of time. Attention is not. So we have discovered something new. Thought, as we said, is the response of memory, right? Memory, which is the past, experience, knowledge, all that is the past. From that background, the response is thought. And can thought be where attention is? Attention is the present, isn't it? Thought can't enter it.
That means we are on two levels.
What?
We are on two levels. We
No
can't
matter.
stop thinking.
Are we? A mind that is in harmony is not living at two levels. Not one level at the office, and the level at home, and third level at God knows somewhere else. is living a harmonious life, whether it's in how, and so on. You see, you don't pursue this thing to the end.
That excludes the use of all the senses, not just thought, but sight, palate, hearing.
Does attention exclude all senses? What do you think? I don't know.
Include.
And what do you mean by includes?
We're listening.
Huh?
We're listening.
Now, look at it, sir. Be careful. Go and watch it carefully. Don't be too quick in the answer. Find out. Does attention include all the activity of the senses?
But you said it's out of time, so it cannot be an activity.
Actions. Does attention include the movement of the senses? Put it any way you like. That's it, huh? If one of the senses is not healthy, can there be attention? If one of the senses, like eyesight, is not very clear, can there be attention? You say yes?
Yes.
So what? So there can be attention without the action of this, without the movement of the senses. Wait, so you follow, sir? Look what we are finding out.
That's what I would have thought.
So there is attention in which the senses doesn't operate. Now, go, sir, that's, please, this is not a theory, for God's sake. So there is an attention which is different when the senses operate. Right? And an attention in which the sense operation is non-existent. That is, when one has pain, physical pain, one can attend completely. And therefore, that has an effect on the pain. You must have noticed all this. This is obvious. So an attention which is not of the senses is attention. And when there is the attention which is the movement of, which is aware of the movement of senses, that attention is still a division. Right? Look, sir. Now, when your body is completely still and your eyes are closed, and therefore completely muscularly, nervously, everything is very still, there is an attention which is not at all of the senses, right?
Well, was the muscular state of the body at that time?
No, sir, no. Body must be completely relaxed.
You can feel it relaxed.
No. No. You try, sir, look, sit now, please do try the experiment, just for fun. Try, sit completely still, with eyes closed. Please, I'm not mesmerizing. I'm not trying to introduce a new kind of experience or all that nonsense. Huh? Oh, no, madam, I'm not, no, please. Then don't do it. Please, then don't do what I'm telling you. If the body is completely still, and it can only be still when the eyes are also very still, and that means the brain cells themselves are still, which means thought is not operating, then are you aware of your senses?
What are the ears?
What's that?
What are the ears?
What is the?
What about the ears, the hearing?
What is the hearing? You hear birds and your rumblings of your own tummy or heart or whatever it is. Sir, we sit complete silence. You don't hear a thing. You haven't done all this. See, there is that humming noise going on. Some machinery is making a noise. Now, if your body, the whole being is completely silent and therefore completely attentive, what takes place? Is the attention then muscular? Is the attention then the result of control of the senses?
No.
Therefore, what does that mean? That attention is not necessarily related to the relaxation of the senses. It means when attention is when the senses are not interfering with it. Now, with that attention, look at disharmony. Right, sir? You understand? With complete attention at disharmony. Therefore, no ideation, no analysis, no absorption. Therefore, there is instant action.
And you feel completely at peace.
We want, sir?
You feel completely at peace.
And when you go outside this room, will you have disharmony again? Will you be again have no peace? That's where the test is, not sitting here. So is it possible to attend so completely when you're outside. I think when one has really understood this question of attention, then you'll answer it for yourself. Whether it's momentary, that attention being brought about through influence by somebody else, or this attention is there because you have understood the whole, you have seen the whole process of this inattention. Therefore, one has seen it, then there is not inside the room or outside. One is attentive.
I think we should perhaps be able to see our reactions faster than we did before.
What's that?
Catch the resentment before it comes out and that sort of thing.
No.
Can I just ask, you're not in that state, you've got your eyes open and you're using thought.
No, sir.
Now.
No.
All right.
Can you look attentively with thought at that tree? Look with your eyes open.
But you're still using your eyes there, so you're not really attentive. Your eyes aren't closed.
Oh no, which means again you're going back. Which is can there be attention when the senses are in operation? Can I attend? Where can the mind completely attend when looking at that tree or listening to that bird, or attend to what is happening around one? Or attend in observing oneself. What time is it, sir? 5:30. Oh, better stop, don't you? We go on tomorrow morning, shall we?